Christina, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Now, you are recently back from a trip, and it is a very exciting one because you commemorated the first anniversary of something incredibly innovative using digital education in rural areas in South Africa. Why don't you bring us up to speed?
A year ago, Via Africa publishers decided to test our digital materials in the market, and we thought of many ways to do it, but at the end we got 3 old shipping containers and we refurbished them into digital libraries, Via Africa Digital Education Centres we call them, and we fitted these containers with 15 Android tablets, and on the tablets we loaded all our digital materials from e-books to apps, all various kinds of reference materials. And we started a program a year ago training the teachers and the learners on how to use this material, how to reform the classroom into a digital classroom. And we had such success that a year later we wanted to celebrate the first year of the Via Africa Digital Education Centres.
Now, I think some people would ask you, Christina, why not just put these particular devices in the classrooms? But there's a very specific reason for using shipping containers. Tell us why.
There's mainly 2 reasons. First of all, the schools that we selected are really deep rural poor schools. We wanted to see how learners from a community that's not exposed to technology deals with technology. So we selected poor schools. So these schools doesn't have additional classrooms. They don't have spare capacity for us to establish a centre. And then the second reason is the shipping containers are basically impenetrable. You know, you can't go through the ceiling. Once you've got burglar bars in front of the windows and doors, it's a very safe environment to have all the technology.
Now, we have the benefit of speaking about this a year after its implementation. Won't you take us through some of the lessons learned during the year? And I know that it's been a success. Talk to us about that.
Yes, when we started out, like I've said, you know, these children and the teachers have never really been exposed to technology, definitely not the learners. The communities that we selected is about 2 hours from the closest big town, so it's really rural schools. And initially when we got there, we thought, okay, well, let's start a training session with the librarian, because it's the librarian that's the custodian of the centre. It took us about 2 hours for this teacher that's never worked on a tablet before to be comfortable to navigate through the tablet. So we got in the learners and we put them each in front of a tablet, and we basically showed them how it worked, and they started touching the screen, and as they touched the screen they saw that something happened. You know, so they realized that they're in control of whatever is happening on the screen, much more so than a computer. So it was really very quickly for them to start using the technology. We realized back then that, you know, it's very easy just to put a printed book behind glass and call it an e-book, but what is important is that the whole mind shift change happens in the classroom, that teachers realize that constructing a lesson around technology is different from using printed books. So we started a training session where we really taught the teachers how to incorporate a correct pedagogy, using the correct digital content, the correct device for that specific lesson. So we went back to the schools every second week during the course of the year, and we trained the teachers on how to use this. We were fortunate, we launched this in April, May last year, and in September, October last year we had the annual national assessments that the Department of Basic Education ran. So we thought we will use that as sort of a measure stick whether we're successful or not. And what we found was amazing. In one of the schools, Tabanshu, we had at the beginning of the year, we tested the grade 5s with the previous ANA, and then we had the centre running for 6 months in the school before the ANAs which they did in grade 6. So it's the same group of learners from grade 5 to grade 6. And their scores increased by 22% after a 6-month intervention. And that was significant. And another example is the grade 6 learners need to achieve a specific level before they can be promoted to grade 7. And we've taken the learners' results, we measured it, and at that point in time, only 17% of learners across the 3 schools had the level required to be promoted. And after the 6-month intervention, 51% measured at that level, which is significant. You know, we felt that the way that the teachers embraced it, that the learners embraced it, the success that the results have shown, the independent results, really excited us in what can be done with digital technology in deep rural areas.
And I think that's what's so exciting about the success story, because when you think of digital education, we often think of our better off private schools where parents have the capacity to provide their learners with tablets, and teachers have the capacity to go on training and to learn these things. But really this model is about rural schools, and I think you're proving that it's possible, it's not impossible.
No, it's definitely possible, you know, and what it does is it levels the playing field. When children leave school, they compete for very few jobs that's available. And if you don't know technology, if you've never worked on a computer, you're behind in the line, you know. So we really feel that it levels the playing field, being able to use technology when you leave school. I think that the success that we've achieved show that learners can teach themselves in a big way. Yes, we've trained the teachers was very much involved, but the learners sitting in front of a tablet doing math exercises. I was watching a class when we were there last week. We have an app called Test Yourself where you can prepare yourself for an exam, a specific bit of content during a specific time of the year, and they specifically did math that session. Now, the learners were competing with one another to see for this specific set of questions who can achieve the highest mark. And they were sitting there and they wanted to redo it, and it was 86%, but it's not good enough. They want 90%, they want 95%. Now, where will you find a group of learners that sit on paper redoing exam paper just because they want to achieve high marks, you know? And that's a very basic level of gamification, but still it works. It motivates and encourages the learners. So, yes, it works.
Now, as CEO of Via Africa, you're obviously exposed to all these different digital teaching tools. And I'd like to ask your opinion and your optimism level for South Africa when it comes to digital learning. Are we on the right track? Are you optimistic about where we're going?
I think a lot still needs to be done. I think the biggest mistake we can make is to send devices to schools or donated devices to schools without the necessary content, but even if the content is there, without the necessary training. I think if we are capable of providing teachers with ongoing training, it's not a session here and a session there is not going to work. And what we found is that you need to train the teacher in the classroom scenario. You need to sit with the teacher and do hands-on training and see how the technology works in the classroom. And then they test it and they practice, and you go back and you assess it and you adapt. If we can do that, and there's a lot of initiatives from the Department of Basic Education to do that, but a lot of work needs to happen, and there's not a lot of money available to do that. So that's a big challenge. So for that reason, I do believe that if we can involve the private sector to a greater extent, it will be much easier to roll out technology into South African schools, but it needs to happen.
If somebody who's watching this video feels that they have the capacity to get involved with this project, are they able to contact your organization? How can we facilitate that interaction?
What we've done is this whole year of lessons that we've learned, we've put together a package that we offer to corporates for the social investment funds. So a corporate can contact us and we can run them through the process, we can run them through the costings, and we will facilitate the whole process. We will do the training, so they can just visit our website at viaafrica, www.viaafrica.com, and they will find all the information there. And if they contact us, then we can work out a package deal that will work for them.
Thank you so much for speaking to us today.
Thank you very much.